I used to think that love meant fighting for someone, no matter how many times they pushed you away. Every argument, every cold shoulder, I was the one reaching out first. I'd say sorry for things I didn't do, just to keep the peace. I'd plan dinners, send texts she'd never reply to, and wait up every night hoping she'd look at me the way she used to. But somewhere along the way it hit me. She didn't see me as her husband anymore. She saw me as a man too desperate to be respected. Started small. Fewer good morning texts, shorter answers, a smile that looked more like politeness than warmth. When I touched her shoulder, she'd flinch, pretending she hadn't noticed. I told myself she was just tired, that work was stressful, that this phase would pass. But phases don't last for years. People just stop pretending. Last week, she came home from work, phone in her hand, scrolling and laughing at something on the screen. I was setting the table for dinner, her favorite chicken Alfredo. She sat down, didn't even look up and said, "I already ate with the team. Don't wait for me next time." Then she went straight upstairs. I remember standing there, holding 2 plates, realizing I wasn't part of her plans anymore. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I tried to think of what changed, what mistake I made that turned her love into indifference. But then I remembered this isn't about mistakes. It's about patterns. Every time I begged for attention, I taught her that my feelings were optional. Every time I forgave silence, I taught her that communication wasn't required. She didn't pull away overnight. I let her drift slowly, thinking she'd come back on her own. So the next morning I made a choice. I didn't announce it. I didn't write a note or make a scene. I just stopped begging. No good morning message. No waiting by the door. No chasing. When she left for work, I stayed in my room, finished my coffee in silence, and didn't even glance when the door closed. For the first time in a long while I felt calm. Empty, but calm. The first day she didn't notice. She breezed through the house like usual, headphones in, eyes glued to her phone. I kept to myself, replying with short, polite sentences when she spoke. "How was your day?" she asked absent-mindedly that evening. "Good," I said, without looking up from my laptop. She hesitated for half a second, long enough for me to catch it, but said nothing more. The second day she seemed restless. She lingered near me when she didn't have to. She asked about my plans for the weekend. She even mentioned we hadn't watched a movie together in a while. I just smiled faintly and said, "Yeah, been busy lately." Then I walked away. I didn't mean to play games. I just wasn't willing to perform the same emotional gymnastics anymore. By the third day, the silence started to echo. Usually, she'd ignore me, confident I'd fold first. But this time, I didn't. She made dinner and left a plate for me on the counter. I ate it later without texting thank you. Not out of spite, but because gratitude should be mutual, not begged for. When Friday came, she came home earlier than usual. She found me in the living room, reading. "You didn't call today," she said quietly. I looked up, pretending to think. "Didn't seem like you wanted me to." She frowned. "That's not true, isn't it?" I asked. Because for months, I was talking to myself. Her eyes shifted, searching for the old version of me, the one who'd apologize just to make her feel better. But that man was gone. I wasn't angry anymore, just done pretending that love should hurt to prove itself. That night, for the first time in years, she reached out first. She came closer that night, not saying much, just hovering near me like she was waiting for something. Maybe a cue, maybe the old version of me who would have filled the silence for her. But I didn't. I let the quiet sit between us like a wall she had built, and I had finally stopped trying to climb. "I don't know what's going on with you lately," she said after a while. I closed the book in my hand. "Nothing's going on. I'm just tired of chasing conversations that end with you looking at your phone." Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. She sat down across from me and fiddled with the edge of a cushion. The silence stretched until it became uncomfortable for her, not me. That was new. She tried again the next morning, made breakfast, something she hadn't done in months. The smell of pancakes filled the kitchen, a scent that used to mean Saturday mornings together. Thought you'd be hungry, she said. I nodded. Thanks. She waited for more. There wasn't any. By Sunday, her tone softened. She asked if I wanted to take a walk the way we used to. I almost said yes out of habit, but then I remembered this wasn't about pretending everything was fine for one day. So I told her, maybe another time. She smiled, but her eyes looked wounded. That used to break me. Now, it just reminded me of how long I'd let my own wounds go unnoticed. I started living differently that week. I went to the gym after work, something I'd stopped doing years ago. I met an old friend for coffee. I even started sleeping better. It wasn't revenge. It was peace, the kind that comes when you stop trying to fix something that only one person broke. But then something shifted. Wednesday night, she came into my room. She stood in the doorway watching me pack a small bag for a weekend work trip. You've been distant, she said quietly. I zipped the bag. No, just balanced. Balanced? She repeated, almost offended by the word. Yeah. I realized I was giving everything and getting leftovers. That's not balance. Her voice cracked slightly. So what now? You just stop caring? I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman I'd spent years trying to love into loving me back. I didn't stop caring, I said. I just stopped begging. For a long moment, she didn't say a word. Her eyes glistened, and I could tell she wanted to reach out but didn't know how. She was finally feeling the distance I'd been drowning in for months. When I came back from my trip, something felt different in the air. The house wasn't cold anymore. There was coffee waiting on the counter, a note beside it. Hope you had a good trip. Small gestures, but real ones. That's the thing about silence. It forces people to listen, even when they don't want to. That evening, she came to me again, this time without the armor. I miss us, she said. I paused, unsure how to respond. Do you miss me, or the version of me who always said yes? She lowered her eyes. Maybe both. We sat there, not as husband and wife trying to win an argument, but as two people finally realizing what neglect does. It doesn't explode. It erodes. It eats away slowly until there's nothing left to fight for. I told her I didn't know what would happen next. Maybe we'd rebuild, maybe we'd drift apart completely. But I wasn't going to chase her anymore. If she wanted to stay, she'd have to meet me halfway. That night, she reached out again, this time not for reassurance but connection. She rested her head on my shoulder. I'm sorry, she whispered. And for once, I didn't rush to say it's okay. I let her words hang there, heavy and real. Because love isn't proven by how much you beg someone to stay. It's proven by whether they notice when you stop. And she did. She finally did.